Alright, this video purpose is basic setup of set number 1. You're going to notice you have a couple bins, smaller tan bin, larger black bin, microphone case, your mixing board, and you're going to have your case with your turntable board. And the first thing we're going to open up is your smaller bin. You notice you pull it out, you'll have your smaller monitor that you're going to be using for your customers, your mouse pad on top to protect the screen. You have a second layer, which normally the tablecloth would be here. We've already taken the liberty of putting that on our table. You have your keyboard, a couple extra essentials such as wipes for mic sterilization between singers. Hang your tablecloth just so. It's not hanging too far over, not too short as to expose the boxes underneath. Once you remove the lid from your turntable box, you're going to set it aside. You're going to use that to put your mixing board on eventually. When you open up your turntable box, one thing you're going to notice is your extensions are out the rear. Pull out your Y cable, your left and right AV cable, put it out to the side since that will be connecting to the monitor, to the mixer. And once you slide the top, exposing the top of the DJ board, you'll have this extra piece. Fold it down, remove it, just set it inside. Now you should be able to fish through your USB cord. Since this unit is USB powered, but your sound does not go through the USB. Now we have our monitor out. I'll take over. And we're set our keyboard right on top. It's upper plate of the DJ board. And you're going to put your mouse pad next to that. Bin number 2, your large black bin. So we open it up, see a couple things first. You see your large monitor. We're going to put that on right away. Please note, the back of this monitor, the stand has been slightly damaged over years of use. You want to make sure you position it back as far back as you can. It will stay stable so long as it's back. It will not fall down. This monitor is DVI for your computer output. Next, we're going to pull out our PC monitor, or our actual PC rather, which is inside this cooler case. The top, little zipper compartment here is where we're going to have our network card pulled out for your actual PC. First thing you're going to do, note here, and this is very important for your placement, USB. We are first of all not going to use these outputs for your monitors at all. That's all going to come right out of here. Your USB, this goes to your secondary hard drive inside the PC. That's going to go at the bottom left USB input. Your network card is going to the top input on the front of the tower. Place it down or shift it a little forward. That way we have some extra room for the cords that are going to be hanging on the back of the PC. You always have it front facing, just again, for presentation. The USB now for your turntables is going to go in the top left. The top right is going to be for your keyboard. You always want to have these in the same spot because this is what the computer is used to. Otherwise it will take extra loading time once you fire up your PC. Next item in the large bin is going to be your black PC bag. One zipper. Please note this is where the majority of your materials are going to be. You're going to have a larger, longer 35-foot VGA cord you're going to run to your secondary monitor for your karaoke singers. You're also going to have your PC mouse. And this, very important guy here, this is where your video card comes into play. You're going to plug this in next to the rear of the PC. Your video card located down here at the bottom. Again, make sure the pins are in the correct direction before you plug it in. Never over tighten your screws so you don't strip them over time. Now we're ready to plug our main monitor in. We have, as you note, we have one that's strictly DVI and one DVI that has a VGA adapter on. This will go to your secondary monitor for your singers. This is your main monitor for your viewing, for your setup. Screw that guy in. Now we're going to put our PC mouse, which, as we noted earlier, the USB inputs on the rear of the PC. Very important that we maintain the same order. Bottom right for the mouse. Loop it up around the keyboard. And there we go. Now we're going to bring out the mixer. You'll see the reason we left the second half of the DJ turntable board up. Just keep it slightly more elevated. Comfort. Now that we have the AV, red and white, left and right, with the front, now we'll plug them in. Be sure to put them in 17 and 18. Very important that you follow it down. If you have any trouble shooting, you can look down the numbers on the bottom of your mixer here. Notice that this is 17 and 18 will correspond with this channel here. Your power cable for the mixer will be in the box with it. Make sure it gets returned back in as well. Plug it in. Now we need to run power to our setup here. The next item you're going to pull out of your black box is going to be the backup battery surge protector. Large black 500 volt guy right here. And if, like in this scenario, we need a little bit of extra room to get where we're going from the wall outlet to the table we're performing on, we're going to have an extension cord. Just note here, one of these models has 3 prongs on it, 3 inputs on it. So we're going to use that so we're not putting all of our power on one single unit. Now that we're done with the smaller unit, the smaller bin rather, we're going to put the lid and we're going to tuck it right under the turntable, under the table. One thing you want to make sure you have is a little bit of slack from your PC components, your mix component down to your backup battery. Once and only after we plug it into the wall, now we're ready to power on the backup battery. Button's located up here, push in. 2 healthy beeps indicates we have good power, we're ready to go. Most of the power you're going to put on a strictly surge side. If you note here, we have a surge battery side, which if anything happens to the power, should keep it juiced up for a few minutes so you don't damage the PC or the power supply on the PC. So we're going to keep everything on the surge side. While we're at it, before we power on the PC, it's also equally important they have all your video components plugged in before turning it on. So we're now going to take our 35-foot VGA cord and plug it in to our VGA adapter. Again, cannot stress enough, make sure you have the pins facing the correct direction before you put it in, and never over tighten the screws. Just about finished with this box. Additional item, of course, we're going to need to put power to our speakers. You'll have a bundle here of longer power cables. Make sure, again, before putting these to the speaker, that these are always grounded. Always use grounded cords when working with powered speakers. Take our Velcro off. Let's come around over here. You'll have 2 speaker stands in the set, whether they come in a package like this or freestanding. We're going to start just by setting up one speaker for the example. Obviously, you're going to double it for the other side. Always make sure you never spread the legs too narrow. Make sure the speaker doesn't fall down. Give it a good tighten at the bottom, but again, never over tighten. Don't strip the screws. Nice and high. The higher you have it, the less chances you're going to have feedback in the microphones for your singers. Now let's put a speaker up on the stand. I'll show you exactly how we want to run the power. The best way to put a speaker up on these stands is to have one hand, probably your stronger hand, if you're right-handed, probably your right, and your left up on the handle here and lift straight up. Look for the hole, gently place it down. Now we're going to run our power, the speaker cables we just pulled out. If I can remember where I put it. You got a little bit of light on that. Always check your power before you plug in. This accidentally got switched on when being carried inside. We'll switch it off quick. Plug it in. Angle it toward where your audience will be. Now we're going to barber pull it down. Again, good presentation. Bring it around the knob, back around, and find its way to our power source. Now no one should be coming behind your table anyway from this angle, so it's okay to run your power cord over to the outlet. Make sure nobody trips over it. For the sake of saving time, we don't need to set up a second speaker, but what we will do is open our final box, which is our microphone box. A couple things you'll always find in this. One, your headphones, so you can do adequate mixing for your singers. All your power cables, with the exception of your speaker power cables. Those should always be in the largest box. These will be all your shorter ones for your PC and additional lighting. You also have all your XLR cables in here for your microphones and your speakers alike. So we're going to pull out these two. Position them nicely, snugly in our mic stands. Raise them up right away. Make sure you tip them back, not forward, so they do not fall out. They will all be clipped together just to make it easier on you when you're unloading your equipment to keep it from getting tangled. Just be careful how you choose to unravel it, otherwise you can find yourself tangled. Your top channels here. Now my board's a little bit larger, some of ours a little smaller. Just note the direction and how your pins are lined up before you plug it in. Plugs to the channel 2. Always, always, always. Kind of ring them out a little bit before you plug them into your microphone. Reason being, because now we don't have extra coils in the cord. Again, safety issue. People walking by, singers coming back, maybe they had a couple beers, you don't want to have a chance. Then maybe tripping over, having any issues there. Next cord we're going to pull out is going to go to our speaker. Now if you note, in the rear of the mixer is where your master outputs are to go to your speakers. So we're going to start with right. Note again, you just want to line up your prongs, put it in till it clicks. And we're actually going to put it between the PC and the mixer and run it around. Again, very easy barber pull technique just to make it neat. Loop it right underneath the leg, straight up to the input. Put it gently, and in the same direction we did with our power cable, we're going to run it around and run it parallel, right with it. Down to this knob, go the same way around. Again, just nicer presentation, looks neater, impressive look. Now we have everything hooked up. Order of operations will always be this. We start with our PC. PC is always the first thing you want to fire up because it takes longer. We're going to put this into the surge and battery side. Again, just for extra protection. Something happens to the breaker, somebody trips over a cord, takes the power out. PC is a little more protected. Fire that guy up. Now you know we also have power going to our DJ board as well. Now that everything is properly connected, all your USBs in the rear, your network card up front, now we're safe to start turning other things on. Your next in order is we're going to turn on your mixer. Now please note, for setup purposes, power button's right here above that power cord. For setup purposes, I left these two buttons on. This is your master. You must have your master on. 17 and 18, where we now have our AV inputs, red and white, left and right, for your music inputs coming from the PC. We have that channel lit up too. Quick look at a couple things here. Let's take a look at our EQs. The note that we have our panning right in the middle. You don't want to have too much going to the left or too much to the right. You want to have it nice and centered. These three blue buttons, these are an effects input. We don't have it. Don't use it. Effects. You should never have effects on music. That's just silly. And of course up here we have our master EQ, your lows, your mids, your highs. For good, crisp quality sound out of the QSC power speakers, we want to have our lows at about 3 o'clock, our mids almost midnight, 12 o'clock, and our highs again almost at 3 o'clock. Your gain, typically want to have about 12 o'clock as well. Now please note, these red buttons here on this master board is a little more complex than the other boards we work with. These red buttons, stereo. This shows that whatever you have pushed down is going to be running to this master. If you do not have the button pushed down on any of the channels you're choosing to use, say we have 1, 2, 3, first 3 channels for your microphones. If that's not pushed down, it's not going to work. Make sure it's pushed down. These extra buttons here, these are for grouping. This is for extra special mixing, for maybe for a live sound setup. You don't need it, you don't want it. None of those buttons should be pushed down. The same thing goes with your panning on these channels as well. Should be at 12 o'clock, perfectly centered left and right. Your EQs will matter based upon your singers, your singing manual, your KJ, DJ manuals. We'll coach you a little bit on how that works. Once you're in your system, enter up your password. As it begins to fire up. Then, of course, begin your program. Your speaker, of course, is the last thing you want to fire up then after your mixer board. Make sure your volume on the speaker, because sometimes it can get bumped when taking it in and out of your vehicle, must all the way down before you turn it on. You don't want to turn it on with full volume pumping through. Now it's down, turn it on. With red light goes away. Bring it up to about 12 o'clock and reposition for your singers. From there, you should be completely trained and aware of how to operate virtual DJ. Start mingling with your singers, get some background music on, and you're ready to rock and roll. Hope this video helped you get along. Good luck.